The Galactic Empire ruled over countless worlds, its reach vast, its power unquestionable. Those who defied the Empire didn't last long, their voices silenced by the elite assassin squad, known as the HITMEN. This was the fate awaiting any threat foolish enough to challenge their dominance. Whispers spread through the Galactic Council of an emerging power, Earth, a backwater planet rumored to be developing advanced technologies, and more troubling, an unbreakable spirit. "They're only humans," sneered the Grand Chancellor. "Send the Hitmen squad. This will be over in an instant." The Hitmen squad consisted of the galaxy's deadliest killers, each with a list of confirmed eliminations that spanned multiple systems. There was Silas, the sniper who never missed, Orion, the weapons specialist, Nyx, the stealth expert, and Galactic, the leader, a master of tactical warfare. When they received the contract, none of them expected resistance. Earth was just another rock with insignificant beings to exterminate. The squad descended on Earth under the cover of darkness, their craft slipping through the atmosphere like a phantom. They landed in a remote forest, miles from any human settlement, intending to begin their mission undetected. Galactic smirked as he checked his surroundings, his enhanced vision cutting through the night. "Let's make this quick," he muttered, gesturing for the others to spread out. As they moved, a sense of unease washed over them. Nyx, the stealth expert, paused. "Something's wrong," she whispered into her calm. The others scoffed, until they saw it too. A shadow moved between the trees, faster than their eyes could track. They drew their weapons, aiming in all directions, yet there was nothing to shoot at, just the whisper of wind through the leaves. Suddenly, the shadow appeared again, this time closer. It was a man, dressed in black, his face obscured by a mask. He stood motionless, hands at his sides. Galactic barked out a command. "Identify yourself." The figure didn't respond. Instead, he shifted, and the squad felt the temperature drop. The masked man moved, almost gliding toward them, and before Galactic could blink, Silas fell to the ground, his throat cut. Blood sprayed across the forest floor, and the shadow vanished again. "What the hell?" Orion shouted, eyes wide with disbelief. He swung his plasma rifle wildly, trying to catch a glimpse of their attacker. "He's one man. Take him down." Galactic roared, but doubt laced his voice now. Nyx activated her cloaking device, blending into the night, confident she'd flank the mysterious figure. But as she crept forward, she felt a sharp pain in her chest. Looking down, she saw the tip of a blade protruding from her body, the cold steel dripping with her blood. The figure whispered in her ear, "You're not invisible to me." He withdrew the blade, and she collapsed, eyes wide with terror. Orion fired wildly, every shot missing its mark. He screamed as the figure closed the distance, and a single, sharp twist broke Orion's neck. Galactic was alone now, heart pounding, sweat dripping down his face. He backed away, desperate, trying to regroup, to think. This was impossible. One man couldn't, shouldn't, have done this. The figure stood before him, calm and collected, a predator staring down prey. What are you?" Galactic stammered. The figure tilted his head. "A shadow." In a fluid motion, he disarmed Galactic, driving him to his knees. Galactic, for the first time in his life, felt fear, a cold, paralyzing fear that seeped into his bones. The figure leaned in, voice barely more than a whisper. "Tell your empire. Earth is not afraid." With that, Galactic felt a sharp pain, then darkness. Galactic staggered back to the Galactic Empire's outpost, clutching the wound in his side. They'd always been the hunters, never the hunted. Yet, this human had turned the tables. "A single man," he muttered to his commander. "A shadow. He killed them all." The council didn't believe him, of course. The Galactic Emperor sneered, dismissing the report as failure and incompetence. "One human? Ridiculous," the Emperor growled. "We've conquered entire worlds. We'll send more." Galactic's hollow eyes said it all. "You don't understand. He's different." As the council argued, the ninja moved through the shadows of the outpost. His movements were fluid, precise, his every step calculated. He studied them, his senses honed to detect even the slightest sound. Tonight, he wasn't here to kill, he was here to send a message. 2 guards stood watch, but they never saw him coming. A flick of his wrist, and they dropped silently, their weapons slipping from lifeless fingers. He moved forward, eyes locked on his target, the main power relay controlling the outpost's defenses. Within moments, he disabled it, plunging the compound into darkness. Panic spread through the ranks as alarms blared. Galactic froze, sensing him before he saw him. "You again," he whispered, turning slowly. The ninja's eyes, barely visible behind his mask, seemed to pierce through him. "You still haven't learned." This time, Galactic wasn't alone. 10 elite guards surrounded the area, weapons raised, forming a tight perimeter. "You won't leave this place alive," Galactic declared, forcing confidence into his voice. The ninja didn't respond. Instead, he drew his blade, its edge catching the dim light, and stepped forward. One guard lunged, his attack was met with a swift, brutal counterstrike that left him crumpled on the ground. Another moved, but the ninja was faster, twisting his body and striking with a precision that left no room for error. The remaining guards hesitated. They'd seen countless battles but never against someone who moved like this, someone who fought as if every moment was life or death. Within seconds, they lay on the ground, defeated, groaning in pain or lying still. Galactic was alone again, heart racing, fear choking him. "Why are you doing this?" he demanded. "You're just one man." The ninja took a step closer, and Galactic stumbled back. "Because you underestimated us," he replied, his voice calm. "You thought Earth was weak. You thought we'd be easy prey." A tremor ran through Galactic. "You can't fight them all," he whispered, desperation creeping in. The ninja tilted his head. "Maybe not. But I'll make them bleed." Galactic fell to his knees, trembling, as the ninja turned to leave. "Wait," he shouted. "Who are you?" The ninja paused, glancing back. "Earth's answer." With that, he vanished into the darkness, leaving only silence behind. The Galactic Emperor's fists slammed into the armrest of his throne, cracking the metal. An entire squad, defeated by one human? He glared at the trembling council members before him. "Do you take me for a fool?" "Reports confirm it, my lord," a trembling advisor muttered. He dismantled the HITMEN squad without being seen. "We're dealing with an anomaly." The Emperor leaned forward, his eyes burning with fury. "An anomaly?" He activated a holographic map of Earth. "We have subjugated countless worlds, crushed entire species, and yet a primitive planet dares to resist us?" His voice dropped to a low growl. "Send the fleet. I will handle this personally." Within hours, an armada of warships surrounded Earth, blocking out the stars. The Emperor himself descended, clad in ornate armor, his eyes blazing with unrestrained wrath. "Prepare for total annihilation," he commanded. Elite troops, thousands strong, poured from the ships, armed with weapons capable of leveling cities. On Earth, human leaders gathered in a secure bunker, watching in horror as the sky darkened with alien vessels. "We can't fight that," one of them whispered. "It's hopeless." "He'll come," another voice said confidently. A figure stepped out of the shadows, an older man, his face lined with age and experience. "He always comes when we need him." "What makes you so sure?" someone asked, doubt clear in their voice. The old man smiled faintly. "Because he's trained for this his entire life." The ninja watched from a distant rooftop as the Empire's forces spread out, securing strategic locations, cutting off escape routes. He saw the fear in people's eyes, the way they clung to one another, desperate and afraid. He'd seen it all before, on countless battlefields, in countless wars. But this time, it was different. This time, it was his home. He moved, slipping through shadows, unseen and unheard. He didn't need weapons, not yet. His mind was his greatest tool, and he used it to study his enemy, to learn their patterns, their weaknesses. He had only one objective: reach the Emperor. The Emperor stood on a ridge, surveying the land, his expression one of disdain. "Pathetic," he muttered. "They don't even try to fight back." A whisper of movement caught his ear, and he turned sharply. The ninja stood there, calmly observing him, as if the Emperor were an insect beneath his gaze. "You," the Emperor growled, stepping forward, drawing a blade that glowed with a crimson light. "You think you can stop me? I have conquered worlds." The ninja didn't respond. Instead, he reached into his sleeve, withdrawing a simple, unadorned blade. It looked almost ordinary, but in his hands, it was a weapon capable of carving through armies. The Emperor's sneer deepened. "You're out of your depth, human." The ninja took a step forward. "We'll see." The Emperor's first strike was blindingly fast, a red arc of light that would have bisected a lesser opponent. The ninja dodged, his movements fluid, almost effortless, and retaliated with a strike so precise that it grazed the Emperor's cheek, drawing blood. The Emperor blinked, shocked. "No one's ever." He lunged again, attacking with everything he had. Each strike was met with flawless defense, each thrust turned aside with minimal effort. It was as if the ninja was reading his every move before he made it. In a moment of desperation, the Emperor stepped back, panting, his eyes wide with disbelief. What are you?" The ninja stared at him, silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "I am what you created, a shadow, forged by your arrogance. I am the consequence you never considered." The Emperor's fear turned to rage, and he charged, letting out a primal scream. The ninja moved faster than the eye could follow, and suddenly, the Emperor's weapon shattered, the pieces falling to the ground. The ninja stepped forward, pressing his blade against the Emperor's throat. "Tell your empire," he said quietly, "that Earth is not theirs to take." With that, he released him, disappearing into the shadows once more, leaving the Emperor gasping for breath, humiliated and defeated. The Galactic Emperor's escape pod crashed onto his flagship, his armor scorched, his pride shattered. His officers dared not meet his eyes as he staggered to his feet, fury radiating from every pore. "Launch every weapon," he snarled. "I want Earth reduced to ashes. No more games." Across the command deck, the officers scrambled to obey. Thousands of missile silos armed, targeting Earth's largest cities. "Prepare for maximum destruction," one officer reported, trembling. Meanwhile, the ninja stood atop a skyscraper, watching as the sky filled with the glow of incoming missiles. He knew he couldn't intercept them all, there were too many. But that wasn't the plan. He activated a hidden transmitter, sending a coded message. Underground, in a top-secret bunker, a team of human engineers received the signal. "It's time," the lead engineer said, sweat beading on his forehead. They threw switches, and enormous towers across the globe began to hum with power, generating a protective energy field around the major cities. It wasn't perfect, and it wouldn't last long, but it would buy them time. The first wave of missiles struck the shield, detonating harmlessly in brilliant explosions. The ninja saw his moment and moved, racing toward the Empire's main command vessel. As he leaped from building to building, he felt the heat of the blasts behind him, the roar of destruction fueling his resolve. He slipped through the ship's defenses like a ghost, avoiding detection with practiced ease. The corridors were lined with elite guards, but they never saw him coming. A flicker of movement, a flash of steel, and they fell, one by one. No alarm sounded. No warning was given. Reaching the command center, the ninja paused. He could hear the Emperor barking orders, demanding more firepower, more devastation. The door slid open, and the room fell silent as every eye turned to him. The Emperor's gaze locked onto the ninja. "You again," he hissed, venom dripping from his voice. "You think you can stop this? You're nothing." The ninja didn't answer. Instead, he hurled a small device onto the control console. It exploded in a burst of electricity, frying the ship's systems. The lights flickered, the screens went dark, and the targeting systems failed. No, the Emperor screamed, lunging forward, drawing a hidden blade. They clashed in a flurry of strikes, faster, more brutal than before. The Emperor's rage fueled his attacks, but the ninja moved with a calm, lethal precision. Each strike found its mark, each block was perfectly timed, and slowly, the Emperor began to tire. With a final, desperate swing, the Emperor overextended, and the ninja caught his wrist, twisting it painfully. The blade fell from his hand, clattering to the floor. The ninja's eyes, cold and unyielding, locked onto the Emperor's. "This ends now." "No," the Emperor gasped, fear finally taking root in his voice. "You can't defeat the Empire." The ninja leaned in close, his voice barely above a whisper. "I just did." With one swift motion, he knocked the Emperor unconscious, binding him with restraints. The remaining officers stared, stunned into silence, as the ninja activated the ship's intercom. "Your leader is defeated," he announced. "Withdraw now, or face the same fate." Panic rippled through the fleet. One by one, the ships began to retreat, engines flaring as they disappeared into the stars. Earth was safe, at least for now. The ninja watched them go, his expression unreadable. He turned, vanishing into the darkness, leaving only the faintest whisper behind. "This is our world." The Galactic Empire's retreat echoed through the cosmos, a ripple of disbelief spreading across the stars. On Earth, the news spread rapidly. Cities erupted in celebration, people poured into the streets, cheering, embracing strangers, crying tears of relief and joy. For the first time, they'd stood against an empire that spanned galaxies, and won. But the ninja didn't join the celebrations. He stood on a hilltop overlooking the city, his eyes scanning the horizon, still wary, still ready. He'd trained his whole life for moments like this, and he knew that threats wouldn't end with a single victory. There would always be another challenge, another enemy waiting in the shadows. The Galactic Emperor, bruised and shackled, was escorted to a secure cell by human soldiers. He stared at them with defiant, hate-filled eyes, refusing to accept the reality of his defeat. "You think you've won?" he spat. "You think this changes anything? My empire will return. We'll burn your world to the ground." One of the soldiers smirked. "You already tried that. Didn't work out so well, did it?" The cell door slammed shut, sealing the Emperor inside. As he sat in the darkness, the weight of his failure settled over him, crushing his spirit. He'd been invincible, unstoppable, and now, he was nothing. Elsewhere, the Galactic Council convened in a panic. Their greatest weapon had been defeated, and they didn't know how to respond. "How could one human do this?" a council member demanded. "How could we lose?" "We underestimated them," another replied, shaking his head. "We thought they were weak, but we were wrong. This ninja, he's not just a man. He's a force." As they argued, the ninja's image flickered onto their screens, captured from the Empire's surveillance feeds. He stood calmly, blade in hand, surrounded by fallen enemies. One by one, the council members fell silent, staring at the man who'd single-handedly shattered their illusions of power. "What do we do now?" someone finally whispered. The answer was clear: nothing. They could do nothing. Back on Earth, the ninja walked through the city's crowded streets, unnoticed and unrecognized. He passed families reunited, children laughing, strangers embracing, and for a moment, he allowed himself a faint smile. This was why he fought, why he trained, why he endured. Not for glory, not for recognition, but for this moment, this fragile peace. A child ran up to him, eyes wide with wonder. "Mister, did you see it? Did you see how we won?" The ninja crouched down, meeting the child's gaze. "I saw," he replied softly. "And you know what? We'll keep winning. As long as we stand together, we'll always win." The child beamed, nodding eagerly before running back to his parents. The ninja watched him go, then turned and melted into the crowd, a shadow once more. And as the sun set over Earth, casting its golden light over the cities. One thing was certain, the galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget: Earth was not to be underestimated.